To knit into the 5th stitch below, you will drop the stitch off of the left-hand needle like so and unravel it for 4 rows until you've caught the 5th stitch below. So here I'm unraveling. I have 4 strands of yarn here, and notice I'm pinching that stitch, my 5th stitch. I'm going to insert my right-hand needle into the stitch and then go below the 4 strands that I dropped, wrap my yarn for a knit stitch, and then pull that through that 5th stitch. That completes the knit into the 5th stitch below. Let's do that again. I'm going to drop my stitch off the needle and unravel it for 4 rows. With my middle finger and thumb, I'm pinching that column so that I don't lose my stitch, and I'm going to insert my needle into the front of the stitch, go below the 4 strands of yarn to the back of the work, wrap my yarn for a knit stitch, and pull through. Sometimes those bars stick together, those rows as you're ripping them out will stick together, so you'll notice me wiggle my needle into them to get them to separate. So here I'll show you English style. I was showing continental before. So we're going to get to the column that we need to drop and drop it off. We're going to rip out 4 rows of knitting, and then on the 5th row right here, my teal stitch, I'm going to disconnect the yarn, catch that stitch with the right hand needle, and then put the right hand needle underneath those 4 strands that I had dropped, wrap my yarn for a typical knit, and then bring that yarn through that 5th stitch. So one more time. If you prefer, you can certainly lift up that 5th stitch, the 5th row below, onto the left hand needle and then knit it off of that if you have trouble knitting through the stitch on the right hand needle. So remember, with my 2 fingers, I'm going to pinch together that column so I don't lose that stitch. I picked it up onto my right hand needle and put it into the back of the work under the columns, under the strands of yarn. I'm going to wrap my yarn for a regular knit, bring my needle forward and through the 5th stitch below to complete the stitch. Happy knitting!